Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to show you this project today because I wanted to show you how to make a journal with a really hard cover. Like I made this one here, and I made it look like an old book, and I just really think it turned out really nice. It's just usually I use cereal boxes to make my journal covers, but this is a little bit more substantial, and I'm going to show you how I managed to do it. It was kind of an experiment. First thing I'll do is show you what you need to make the cover. Is this close enough for you? I'm afraid to adjust the camera because it might fall off, but what you might want to make a screenshot of this, or you can write this down. But the first thing that you're going to need is a couple of 9 by 12 inch canvas boards like these, like you would paint on. These aren't very expensive. I believe I got these at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So you'll need a couple of these. That's what's going to make your board nice and thick and strong, like a real book. So we're going to need that. You're going to need some really strong tape. This is Tyvek tape, generic from Lowe's, but you can use duct tape or packaging tape or anything that's super strong. You're going to need a couple of skewers, like so. If you don't have skewers, you can probably get away with using 4 toothpicks for this. We're going to use the skewers to create the dimension in the spine, so that'll be cool. You're going to need a sharp craft knife. You're going to need a ruler. You're going to need a pencil. You're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need some ordinary cheap glue. The glue I'm using is this. It's just clear school glue from Amazon. I bought this jug 3 years ago, and I still have half of it. And what I do is I put it into this frosting or icing bottle, and I thin it out with about 1/3 water and 2/3 glue. But you can use white glue or school glue or any other glue that's just cheap and easy to use. You can use Mod Podge, but it's really not necessary, and since it's kind of expensive, you may not want to use it for this, but you absolutely can if you really like to. You're going to need a little bit of Scotch tape or maybe washi tape. You're going to need a piece of cloth that fits the spine of the book. This piece of cloth is 8.5 inches wide by 22 inches long. You want it to be at least about 22 inches long and at least 5 inches wide to fit across your spine. So that's for the measurements that we're doing today. If you decide to use your own measurements, then by all means, you can use a different size piece of cloth. Okay, so you're going to need paint or gesso. I'm going to use gesso, which is basically just thick white paint. And of course a paintbrush to go with it. And a trusty cereal box liner to protect your table area. So those are the things that you're going to be needing. So the first thing that we need to do is cut our boards down, and I went ahead and cut my boards down to size already because it takes a little while to do the cutting of the board. And mine I measured 6.5 inches by 9, and I made my spine 2 3/4 inches wide, but you can make your spine and your panels as big or as little as you want. But the reason that I chose, even though, okay, let me show you something. In order to divide this in half, it would actually be right at 6 inches because it's a 12-inch board, and you really could probably just cut them in half. But you're still going to need a spine, and I found that I needed a little bit extra room. That extra 1/2 inch really made a difference for my signatures to fit into. So don't be afraid to go ahead and what you do is you measure up to 6.5 inches and make a little pencil mark. And do the same thing on your top one, on the top of it. And you mark it, and then you meet your ruler. Then you meet the markings of your ruler, which I did not do that right. Hold on a second. 6.5. Oh, that one's a 6-incher. Okay, so back to 6.5. And what you're going to do is you're going to make your pencil mark from mark to mark, just like so. And I still have the plastic on here because I'm not really going to use this. I'm just going to demonstrate how I cut. So what I did was I just used my ruler and I held it down really firm, and I just started slicing away. Slice, 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 slice. Be super careful that you do not cut your fingers, because that would not be any fun at all. So let's pretend that we cut these down, and I made a spine out of one of the off-cut sides. Again, you can make your spine really any size that you want to. If you make it 2 3/4 wide, you can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really nice size signatures in there, it looks like. So that's what I'm going to go with in this project. But if you want to make your spine smaller, then you won't need as much cloth width, because we're going to need to use the piece of cloth later to cover the spine completely. And next thing that we're going to do is space our panels out so that there's a small gap, so that they're all lined up as evenly as possible, but you want to leave a small gap so that the book covers can turn or can open and close. So I'm going to just use a little bit of Scotch tape to keep these joined together. And you'll see what I mean in a minute, what I'm doing. So this is where you can use your washi tape if you don't have any Scotch tape, and put a little bit on top, a little bit on the bottom. I also want to flip it over, and let's make sure it closes. Okay, so our book closes, and I just pop the tape, so hopefully it'll stick back down. A piece here, a piece here, here, and here. So you want to make sure that you have enough of a gap that your book is going to open and close, which it looks like ours is going to. So yeah, so that's good. So then we move on to the next step, which is using our strong tape to reinforce. And I'm going to go ahead and do both the inside and the outside. And you don't have to worry about the wording showing or the plasticiness showing, because we're going to cover all that up. So let's just start here. Now this is just to hold our tape from getting stuck to itself when it's on the roll. So this is a kind of a neat idea I found somewhere online. I don't know, I don't remember, but it works pretty well. So we'll just wrap this around. Reinforcing the outside now. And snip. So there's one side, and let's make sure it bends. Okay, so it was a little tight, but I got it to bend. So that's good. We got it to bend. So you want to test things as we go, but you want to make sure that this tape is down really good, that it's flexible, but yet firm on your spine there. And here's the other side. See, now I lost the end because I didn't have the bread tie on there. And now I have to peel it all up. So this will just take a minute. And okay, I'm going to tape this side now. And then turn it over and tape the inside. This is actually a really super easy project. It takes a little bit of doing, but the hardest part is cutting the panels. But once you get that done, everything goes pretty lickety-split. Let's make sure that that one can bend. Make sure it can bend, and also make sure that it's down really good. It looks like my tape has made some wrinkles, but I'm not going to worry about that because this is not a perfect science by any means, and it probably isn't going to show up after we get everything covered. So again, just make sure that all the tape is down really, really good, both on the inside and the outside, because this is really what makes your spine strong. And make sure that the panels open and close neatly and nicely. So here we already have our book, and we're almost done. So on to the next step. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure our skewers for the spine. So the way to do that is, where's my pencil? Here's my pencil. You just take, and well, you want to make sure that your spine is all that you're putting the skewer on. So maybe if we do it like this, it'll help. And just lay it across the spine and mark it with a pencil. You want it to be long enough to fit across the spine, but not so that it overhangs the spine. So there's one, and then we're going to make another one here. So I'll mark that one with a pencil. And then we're going to make a third one up here. So I'll mark that with the pencil. And the reason we need 2 skewers is so that we can have 4 of those ridges. So I have an extra one. This one here will go up here. Mark the pencil mark right here. Okay, so then what we'll do is cut our skewer with our scissors. We're going to cut this with the scissors right along the marks. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's the mark. Ooh, it went flying. I'll go pick that up in a second. Be super careful because it looks like they fly all over the place. We don't need this. That one stayed. And this one. That one flew. And I'll get the one from the floor. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is glue the skewers on, as you expected us to do. So lay them out. You can put them any way you want. You know, you can make them close together. You can make them equidistant from each other. I kind of like the look of having 2 close to each other on the bottom and 2 close to each other on the top. And you can use any glue for this. I think a hot glue gun would be really effective. I'm going to use this Fabri-Tac. I know I didn't say you needed this, and you don't need it. You can use any glue, but it's quick and easy, so I'm going to use it for this project. So just make a little line and glue it down. Don't worry if your glue gets globby, because you're not going to notice this later. You're not going to notice that later. And they don't have to be perfect by any means. It's handmade, and some imperfections make it really charming. If it was too perfect, I mean, we could buy something perfect. It's made in a store, made in a factory. Not made in a store. Sold in a store, made in a factory. And it would be perfect, but this is handmade stuff, so it makes it extra special. The little flaws make it charming. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. Okay, so that's that. Now we got our spine and the ridges on our spine. Okay, so next thing we do is we come in with our piece of cloth. This piece of muslin, again, it's 8.5 inches wide by 22 inches long. That's what is going to fit our book. You can make your cloth narrower. You just want to make sure that it covers both sides of your spine and that there's some overlap. So in this case, with the spine being 2 3/4 inches wide, you want it to probably be about at least 5 inches wide. So, but you can make it as wide or as narrow as you desire. And so here's what we do. This is where we come in with the cheap thin glue. And what I'm going to do is overlay this just a little bit, because what I want to do is have the bottom part of the cloth just hanging, because this is going to go on the inside where we sew our signatures in later. And I want to overhang or overlay the top just a little bit too, so it's more secure. So this is kind of the fun part right now, because you get to take your glue. Ooh, I should probably have put something underneath. Oh, well, I didn't. So I was going to put the cereal bag liner underneath to protect the surface, but too late now. So just give it a bunch of glue and take your paintbrush and paint it on. And you kind of go from the inside out so that the cloth doesn't move too much. And it doesn't matter if you get glue on the rest of the canvas, because we're going to paint over that, so it doesn't matter. But you want to make sure that your cloth is really glued down good against your panels. You want to make sure that you get your cloth into the grooves of the spine. Just take it and tap it. You want to get it all around those skewers so that the skewers show their dimension, if that makes any sense. So if you need to use more glue to get in there and do that, go right ahead. Take your time with this step, because this is a kind of an important one. I'm going to use a little bit more. Just really want to make sure that it's glued down good. There's no bubbles. There's no gaping. Just really take your time with this part of it. And of course, you know, if you don't do it perfectly the first time and it dries, you can really just do it again, and it'll turn out fine. It will turn out just fine. Okay, so then after we do this, we wait. Basically, we wait. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry, and later on we're going to come back and we're going to glue this flap in on the inside, and we're going to paint the outside. So that'll be another one of the fun parts of this project. So yeah, I guess it's looking pretty good. And make sure that it can bend. So it looks like it can bend, and that's good. I keep seeing bubbles, and some of that might be in the tape. But again, a few imperfections. Try not to sweat them, because this is not a perfect science. This is art. So make it nice, but don't worry too much about it. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and let this dry, and then I'll come back and move on to the next step. Okay, you guys, I'm going to have to rethink my stance on Mod Podge because I put a second coat of glue on the book, and there seems to be quite a bit of bubbling up and not adhering to, especially where the tape is at, and down at the bottom it's not sticking. And I didn't have that problem with this book. I think it was really pretty solidly adhered using just the school glue, but I also used an old bed sheet piece for that, and maybe that's the difference, because this muslin is not a lot thicker than a bed sheet, but maybe enough. I don't know. In any case, I apologize because I said you didn't need Mod Podge, and I still don't know if Mod Podge is going to be the answer, but I am going to try it. So here we go. This is a brand new. Ah, that was great. Okay, I'm gonna go wash. Okay, so I've opened this brand new Mod Podge because I couldn't open my old one because it was too glued shut, and I'm going to use this littler brush and just go over everything the same way I did with the regular glue, and we'll see if it works any better. And I'm going to just do this really quietly so that I can speed it up when I'm editing when I'm editing it. Okay, so I did, as you saw, a pretty liberal amount of Mod Podge all over everything, making sure that I got all the edges really well and everything as tightly glued down as possible. And it might be a little bit better. I think it is actually, but it's not 100%. But I'm decided that I don't care. I think it's going to still look amazing after we paint it. It's supposed to look like an old raggedy book, so I'm not really going to worry about it. I just didn't want it peeling up. But if it's got bubbling and stuff, then I'm not going to worry about it. So yeah, I'm going to just go ahead and clean this up and let this dry. I actually took it out to dry for the other coats out onto the back porch in the sunshine, and it really didn't take very long at all. Only took about an hour or so for it to dry. So we'll see how long the Mod Podge takes to dry and how it turns out. And then we'll do the fun part, at least for me it'll be fun, doing the painting. I decided I'm not going to go with a brown. I'm not going to duplicate this. I'm going to go in a totally different direction. And I played around with a couple of different ideas for pinks. I just, for some reason, I'm in a pinky mood lately. And so here's some of the ideas that I came up with. And this is just my dog's footprint because I had this on the back porch. And so that wouldn't be, this is just on scratch paper, you know, just as ideas. But I really like this one, I think. And maybe I could even do another bit of dabbing with my brush with white or lighter, even lighter pink, and make more dimension. I'll show you how I did that when I paint the whole thing. If you want to watch that, stick around, and the next segment will be me painting it. Yeah, okay. Okay, everybody, I'm back. I put the Mod Podge book out onto the back porch to dry in the sun, and it only took about an hour for it to dry. It's still slightly damp, but it's pretty well dry. And I have to say that the Mod Podge left a superior finish. It really did. I don't know if it was the difference in the material I used or what, but it's a lot more adhered. It left like a rubberized sort of shell, it really feels protective. So I'm happy that I went with that, and I'm sorry that I thought I could do it without it and told you so. So anyway, on with it. So what I'm going to do next is paint the outside, and I'm going to tape up this piece of cloth that goes into the middle because it just keeps on getting in my way. So I will tape this up. It's like pinning in a baby's diaper. I haven't done that in a long time. Okay, just to keep this out of the way while we're painting. Not that it would really matter if some paint gets on this, because we're going to cover it with scrapbook paper eventually. But for now, we'll just have that out of the way. And oh, it's not completely out of the way, is it? All right, let's try that again. Another layer. Okay, there's better. Okay, so it won't flop out and try to get paint on it while we're painting. So I was thinking of going with this as kind of the way the book is painted. I think it looks really awesome on this wall, on this watercolor pad paper that I got from the Dollar Tree. And I think it'll look pretty cool with the canvas and the texture of it as well. And so I'm going to try to reproduce that, and I'm going to use this old, I don't have no idea where I got it when, but white acrylic paint, and then a little bit, just a little tiny dab of this, because all it takes is a little to make pink, because red is very strong. So let's try that. Also, it dries darker, so you can be fooled if you're not careful mixing your colors. And then you can always adjust it as needed. Add a little more white or red, whatever we need to do. I kind of like this color. Maybe add a little more white. It looks like I'm going to have to make some more paint up real quick. Okay, so before I do the speckles of lighter pink and or white, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, I'm going to let this dry and then do another coat just to make sure it's all covered really well. It's covered pretty well. I'm going to also have to do the inside edges at some point, but I can do that later. I'll let this dry here, or I could bring it outside in the sun to dry, actually. Maybe that's what I'll do. And so that's exactly what I did. I took it outside to dry, and as a matter of fact, it's the next day, and while you weren't looking, I put another coat on, and I did the inside of the edges. I still want to add a little bit of dappling to it to make kind of a combination between these two kind of images, or these kind of paintings that I made, just to give it a little more dimension. So I'm going to come in and do that. If you're still watching, I want to thank you, because you've been with me for a long time here. This has been a long project, and even though it's been a long project, it's been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed it. And I hope you have too, and I hope that you'll make something like this. And let's see, I'm just going to come in and dapple this white on. Ooh, that looks kind of neat. And I just wanted to thank you and ask you that if you do like this video, to go ahead and give me a like, and if you want to see more like it, you can subscribe, and make sure that you tap the notifications button so that you can see anything else that I make. And also, if you want to see me either finish this journal and or maybe do a flip through of this bad boy, which is pretty cool. It took me a long time to make this and I really like it. And I could do that if you like, but I won't know unless you put something in the comments about it. Tell me what you'd like to see and I'll do my very best to oblige. So thank you for that. I like it, but I think it still needs a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to come in and add just tiniest bit of pink and come in and do the same thing to it. See how that looks. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think that looks pretty good. It's gonna make a nice looking book, isn't it? I think that looks all right. So, all right, everybody, I'm gonna call that done. And thank you for watching, and I hope that you like it. And when I make the inside of the journal, it's gonna be a big job because this is a very wide spine. I'm gonna have to get together a lot of pieces of paper and make my signatures. If you'd like to see it, go ahead and let me know in the comments section, and I'll be sure to record when I do that. So in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.